All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about a pretty shocking discovery that put two European nations on high alert. Imagine this, backpacks just packed with explosives, found literally steps away from a critical gas pipeline. This wasn't just some vague threat, you know? This was a direct shot at Europe's energy security.
So, this immediately brings up a huge question, one that really gets to the heart of stability in Europe. I mean, what happens when someone tries to sabotage a vital energy lifeline? Especially one that connects two nations and, by extension, connects them directly to Russia. Yeah, so get this. On what was probably a pretty normal Sunday in northern Serbia, authorities stumble upon something that is anything but normal. Two backpacks. And no, these weren't left behind by some tourists. They were loaded with high explosives, complete with detonators, just sitting there, only a few hundred meters from a critical gas pipeline.
Okay, so let's break this down. What exactly was this threat? What did they find on the ground? And how did everyone react right away?
So the location was a town called Kanjiza, right there on the border between Serbia and Hungary. And we're not talking about some remote location. The explosives were just a stone's throw from the pipeline. And this was the whole package, literally. Not just the explosive material, but the detonators too. Everything needed to cause a massive explosion.
And the potential damage here? Well, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić didn't mince words. He said it could have endangered many lives and caused just significant, widespread damage. So right from the top, you can feel the gravity of the situation. This was serious.
And you better believe the response matched the threat. Serbian media was all over it, showing this massive security operation unfolding in real time. We're talking police everywhere, roadblocks popping up, helicopters buzzing overhead. This wasn't some quiet, behind-the-scenes investigation. It was a full-blown emergency.
But here's the thing. To really get why this was such a huge deal, you have to understand what this pipeline represents. It's so much more than just a pipe carrying gas. It's about politics, big time. It really all boils down to one key concept: energy dependence. Think about it. When your country relies on another nation to keep the lights on and the heat running, that other nation gets a ton of influence over you, right? It can affect your biggest political decisions. And in this story, that supplier is Russia.
Now, Serbia and Hungary, they really stand out in Europe right now because of their relationship with Russia on energy. While most of the EU is trying to get away from Russian gas, these two are leaning in. Serbia just signed a new gas deal, and Hungary, they've actually used loopholes in EU sanctions to buy even more Russian fossil fuels. So, you see, this pipeline isn't just infrastructure. It's a political symbol.
And this shared energy strategy is no coincidence, not at all. It's really driven by the close relationship between the leaders of these two countries.
The two main players here, President Vučić of Serbia and Prime Minister Viktor Orban of Hungary, are both well known for maintaining really strong ties with Moscow. And this has often put them in a tricky spot with the rest of Europe.
Prime Minister Orban, especially, has become a master of this, let's call it a political balancing act. On one hand, he's telling the EU to drop its sanctions on Russian energy. On the other, he's complaining that Ukraine is blocking oil supplies. And all the while, he's clashing with Brussels on pretty much everything, from how to support Ukraine to immigration policy.
And Orban's alliances aren't just with Moscow. He's also made himself a major European ally of former U.S. President Donald Trump. This has gotten him some very vocal support from certain American political figures, with some even calling the U.S.-Ukrainian relationship a golden age.
Okay, so you've got the pipeline, the politics, the alliances, but all of this becomes, well, even more explosive when you factor in the timing, because this discovery didn't just happen on some random weekend.
No, this wasn't just any Sunday. The explosives were found just 1 week before Hungarians were heading to the polls for a huge national election. I mean, the timing is so precise, it's hard to believe it could be a coincidence, right?
And this is a massive election. For the first time in 16 years, Orban's ruling party, Fidesz, is facing a real, serious challenge. The polls actually show the opposition TISA party pulling ahead. After all this time, the longtime leader is suddenly in the fight of his political life. And here's the kicker. With the opposition in the lead but a huge chunk of voters still on the fence, an event like this, a potential terrorist attack on the country's energy supply, could completely change the game. It injects a huge dose of fear and uncertainty right when the political stakes are at their absolute highest. You can just imagine how fast things move between the two leaders. As soon as Serbian authorities had their initial results, President Vučić was on the phone with Prime Minister Orban.
And Orban didn't waste a second. He immediately called an emergency meeting of his defense council. All of this happening during the final, chaotic week of his campaign.
And that's where all this leaves us. You have explosives, a nail-biter of an election, and deep-seated fears about energy, all centered on two leaders caught between the EU and Russia. The real question isn't just who left those backpacks there. It's whether this whole incident is a sign of something much bigger, a tremor right before a major geopolitical earthquake. Because what happens next could send shockwaves far beyond Hungary's borders.